live from Sfat, and Terry Hayes is here, co-host. We thank everybody for joining. It is here in Israel, it is the 12th of December, and it is 3:05 in the morning. And we're glad that you're with us. We really appreciate it. We were talking about, there's some big exciting things happening with the whole Noahide community, and I say Noahide in quotes because when we here in Israel talk about it, we don't say Noahide, we say righteous of the nations. That's what we talk about. And there's all over the world it's happening, not just in America, but the rest of the world is a little more advanced than America in this. There's, throughout what used to be the USSR, there's even whole little villages that have thrown away closed their churches, thrown away their idols, and are learning now. The Philippines has a lot of people. In Africa, there's a lot of people doing this. Now, the people in the Philippines, the people in Africa are much more spiritual than most other people in the world. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. And I've been in Africa, and I see how these people think, and I see how they react to things we call spiritual. I'll put that in quotation marks too. So they're way ahead of what's happening in America. They actually have some communities set up already. They have whole villages that are now doing it. It's really amazing. Well, there's a group in Jerusalem that is kind of taking the lead in this, and run by two very good rabbis, and they have the recommendations from like Bibi Netanyahu and from the chief rabbi of Israel, and the past chief rabbi of Israel, and the chief rabbi of the town I live in, Sfat, and also from his father, who was the chief rabbi previously. So they've been around a little while. And through divine providence, we've hooked up, and we're in the negotiation or talking stages now to become, they will be like umbrella over what we do for Torah for the Nations. They're getting ready to publish it's like the Divine Code, which is a very good book, and it's very detailed, and sometimes I think a little too detailed, but it's a good reference book. But the book they have coming out, which is essentially a guide and a way of doing things, puts everything in such a light that there isn't anything. I mean, you may have a question here or there, like we were just talking about the mezuzah on the house, and could there be a scroll inside? And one rabbi says, oh, put it up, but don't put a scroll inside. And put it straight up and down instead of at an angle. That's fine, but the whole thing behind this organization is someone who has given up. They're not Gentiles anymore. They're not called Gentiles. They're called righteous of the nations. They've joined themselves with Israel. So anything that's in there that God has commanded, other than what he commanded Jewish people to do, understand there's a difference between Jew and Israel. In other words, I have to get up every morning and go to prayer and put the little boxes on and put them on my head and put the prayer shawl on and to go through this whole system because God commanded it. You don't have to do that. You can do almost any of the mitzvot that you want to do, any of the commandments, positive or negative, as long as you're doing them knowing that God commanded Moses to tell the whole world about these particular commandments. Like, example, candles on Friday night to welcome the Shabbat. It's okay to do. Lighting Hanukkah candles, okay to do. You want to eat kosher, okay to do. But if you don't, it's not like you gain something in blessings from God by doing it. You've gained your blessing by leaving and coming to him. You've gained your blessing by leaving everything else behind and coming to him. If you want to eat kosher, eat kosher. You don't want to mix milk and meat? Don't mix milk and meat. But if you do mix it, it's okay. There's no, you're not penalized because you did or didn't do it. Each person, each family can take on what they want and what they don't want. And nobody can point a finger and say, oh, you're not lighting candles on Friday night, or look what you're doing. You're lighting candles on Friday night. You can't, it's totally out of the picture. Everybody can take it to their own level. The things that are essentially forbidden are things that make people think you're Jewish. In other words, wearing a kippah all the time, or tzitzit, you know, on your side, the fringes on your pants and stuff like that. Because that's not who you are. Who you are is who you are. And it's important that you be who you are before your Creator. Do prayers before eating food to thank the Creator, because it's His food He's given you. He's given us everything. He's given us, He clothes us, He feeds us, He gives us breath, He gives us the money in the bank, He gives us our jobs. He gives us everything. So it's proper to thank Him for what He gives us. And this particular group is setting up a set of prayers. They know there's other prayer books. It's okay to use them. They're not saying don't use anybody else's prayer book. But they're just going to put guidelines out in a prayer book out, which is going to be out very soon. I'm excited about it because it's what I've been teaching. I'm excited about it. So that I think, or I've learned actually, that the things should be done, like to say the Shema Yisrael twice a day. I had a couple sitting here at our table earlier today. They did not know that back in the 11th or 12th century, one of the Hebrew sages, when asked a question by a person who was not Jewish, is it okay for them to do it? He says, of course, you should say it twice a day. It's just a reminder for yourself who your Creator is, and thank Him for that. He also suggested to do the prayer I tell everybody to do in the morning, Modeh Ani, thank you, my great King, for bringing my soul back and giving me life for another day. And when you get up in the morning, the whole thing is just stepping away from where you were and not stumbling on what's behind you. God doesn't hold it over your head. God doesn't say, oh, look what you did 5 years ago or 3 years ago or yesterday. The minute that you turn to Him, your Creator, you turn away from all this other stuff, He welcomes you with open arms. He says, oh, thank you, my son, my daughter, for what does He have? You know, God has no need for anything. Remember, we talked about this. What does He need? He is everything. We have needs. He takes care of our needs. But why did He create us in the first place? He created us in the first place to do some particular job during our lifetime for Him. We don't know what it is. We don't know when we've accomplished it, when we haven't. Certain people, we do know when they accomplish it. There's a lot of great mystics, and I didn't realize my collar was stuck down. A lot of great mystics, a lot of great sages, a lot of great people that were Jewish that died when they were early in their life. They died in their 30s. They died in their 40s after they gave us these opus works, these great works of understanding of God. And we know that this is when God wanted them to disconnect from earth. He didn't want them to divulge more information, so to speak, because they had the ability to see deeper in. And I know I'm getting off over here somewhere, but one of the biggest things that people need to learn is there's no such thing as death. A part of you is eternal. It doesn't die. It's a part of God. The body, yeah, okay, it wears out. It gets saggy. Your hair gets white. Your bones hurt. It's like driving a car for 60 or 70 years and putting 500,000 miles on the car. And you eventually have to get a new car. When the The body dies and it goes back to dust. Your soul does not. Your soul moves on to the next level of life. And what we're in is like a corridor or in kindergarten waiting to go to the next level. How and why we go to the next level is up to us in this life. That's the most important thing in our life. Hello, Martha. And Yurak, I guess. Hi, Veronica. I don't remember if I said hi to you. The important thing is connecting with Hashem, connecting with God, and taking what he's given us, all the gifts he's given us, that are the food, the material things he gives us, what he's given us as a present, and some have more and some have less, but still he gives, and taking that item and using it in his service. What does it mean? Simply, if he gives it, I'm going to use a gun as an example. A gun is a tool that he gives us. So at one time we had to go hunt our food every day. So that's what it's supposed to be used for. And when we use things properly, then it's used to uplift him. When we eat food and we walk out of the door and the first thing we do is get angry when we walk out the house because the paper waiting to get the paper up to the porch. And I don't know, why didn't you get up to the porch? That's not using that energy to uplift God. Everything we do is to take what he's given us and use it to his glory, for him to show other people we're connected with him. It's a great and wonderful way to live your life because it takes a lot of things out of your life. Yerachmael. Where are you from? You turned your mic off.
Is it on now?
Yeah, it is. Where are you from?
Sharon, Massachusetts.
Good to have you with us. Thank you for being with us. And when you're not talking, you can turn it off, but I just wanted to hear you say something. Thanks for joining. And we're so excited of what's happening around the world. It's like a tidal wave. And you guys are right on the beginning of it. You're the leading people because this is a time for it now. And when you can focus on helping other people through their problems, and there's a lot of people out there now leaving different religions, specifically Christianity. Everything on this earth has its time. There's a birth and there's a death. Everything. Everything has a time except Israel. God created Israel to be eternal on this earth. In this life, in the next life, in the next life. And so when a religion comes and goes through its cycle and leaves, it's gone. That's what's happening now with Christianity. Islam is still on the upswing, but it won't be much longer. It'll start sliding down. But there isn't any other major religion you can talk about, I don't think. Even in India, people are switching over from other religions to the one true God, the God of Israel. So it's an exciting time we're living in, and you can actually be a part of it, which you are. And the thing that I know, we have other interests, and it's okay to pursue those other interests, whether it's creating communities which are needed or helping people and helping, being kind to people is essentially the big thing. But the biggest thing you have to do in your life is to get yourself to remember when you wake up in the morning, you've reconnected. It's time to reconnect with the God of Israel, your creator, your father, your king. And that everything you do during the day, you know, when we were kids and we would leave the house in the morning to go to school or go to whatever we're doing, if we did something out there, what's the first thing I'm going to call your dad, right? The first thing. And I'm going to tell him you did something wrong. And you're going to embarrass your dad. We all remember that we probably did it sometime in our lives, especially when we were much younger and didn't know any better. The point is, today we just have to remember to do it, not to embarrass them, to do the things that need to be done every day, with every step we take, with every thought we take. You know, you pick up a glass of tea to drink the glass of tea, and a Jewish person says, Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam shekol yeh devaro. Thank, because there's different prayers for different food, but this essentially says, thank you, everything is created by your word. So I acknowledge to him, this cup of tea was created by him and his word, and I thank him for giving it to me. I'm not just taking it from him and saying, I took this tea and you're my dad and I can do whatever I want, you know. I thank him for it. If I eat a piece of bread, I thank him for it. It's divided into different sections. You can do it if you want. You don't have to do it. You can acknowledge it in your own prayerful way. But the point is to acknowledge. Where'd your car come from? Where's the gasoline come from? Where's the shirt on your back come from? Where's the roof over your head come from? He gave it. He created it. He gave it to you. You've got it. It's yours right now while you're here on this earth anyway. So the exciting part about this whole relationship with God, our creator, is that it's not something, everything you look at, everything you touch, you don't have to take it on faith. Here it is right in front of me. Oh yeah, well, I believe in faith. Well, no, you don't have to do that. God is logical. And things are, for us, he makes things physical so that we can have the things we need. We can eat that piece of steak, that beautiful piece of steak, and a baked potato, or we can, you know, he created these things for us. Why? Because we are his children, and we're the most powerful of all of his creation. Each one of you is more powerful than any angel that was ever created. People don't realize that. We were created in God's image, not in the image of an angel, not in the image of a wolf or anything else, in God's image. And when you treat somebody poorly, you grouch at them or you get angry at them or you call them a name, who are you calling a name? Who are you grouching at? That person is created in God's image, is a part of God. That means you're grouching at God. You're actually grouching at God, complaining. Why? Oh yeah, you feel good. This person pulled me over, pulled out in front of me, so I'm gonna go cut him off. Who are you cutting off? God. You get mad at somebody. Hang on, let me just close this door here. Got it. Okay, there we go. If I look at any one of you here on this screen and I think bad thoughts about you, I'm thinking bad thoughts about God. Because you're a part of him. You're created in his image. When you allow yourself to become depressed, you're actually going against the reason God created you. When you get angry, when you get jealous. But these are things we have to learn how to control. God doesn't have to learn how to control them because he is everything. But we have to learn how to control them because we have a mechanism in us. One mechanism keeps us alive. That's what we call the animal soul. Then we have the godly soul that's in us. And now I'm not saying there's two souls. I'm just, this is the way we discuss it, because there's different levels of soul. But the animal soul was created to keep us alive. We want to eat, we want to procreate, we want to do all these, learn, we want to do all these other things. And then there's the godly soul that says, hold on a minute, but let's do it in the right manner. And it's in every single person. I don't care who that person is. And you can do it in that manner or not. Question is, why are we in the world at this moment? For if we are now, if we are here now, there's a reason. If we met and know each other, then we have a job to do. Yes. See, I know this is really, God, before anything happened, you were already there. You were in his plan. You were put on this earth at a very particular time for a very specific reason. So that's why you're on earth right now. There's a whole nother part of a teaching on that. We'll maybe get into it later. I'm not going to get into it right now. But there's a reason you're here. The reason is not to just live, eat, procreate, and die. The body die. We're here to if we're created in the image of God, we have all of his, midot. We have the same attributes that God has. Mercy, love, all of that. But we have to bring it forward in us. We have to push down the animal part of us, which is there to keep us alive for a certain period of time. And when we're younger, it makes it easier for us to operate. Now, Terry put in here, the righteous shall inherit the earth. And it's true. What does it mean? I mean, this is a phrase everybody uses. What does it mean the righteous will inherit the earth? Who are you guys? You are righteous of the nations. The righteous inherit the earth. Those that are not righteous in the way we define righteous, in the way God defines righteous, they don't inherit the earth. People think heaven is somewhere up. No, heaven is right here. We're not going anywhere. When we talks about a new heaven and a new earth, it just means it's been refurbished. We're still in the same place. We aren't going anywhere. Earth is earth. Earth is earth. And God said he created it for that reason. And God has a connection point on this earth, which is in, I think it was in this week's or last week's Torah portion. Last week's Torah portion. Jacob's ladder up on Mount Moriah. A lot of things happen in that one little spot. That's where Abraham took Isaac. The stones that Jacob used to protect his head were from the altar that Abraham had built to do the sacrifice of Isaac. There's so much stuff to learn there. But the most important thing for any of us to learn, I don't care if you're Jewish or not Jewish, that we have to, above all, we have to operate in what we call tzedek, or we have to be righteous. We have to be, but that word righteous in Hebrew comes from the word be kind. We have to be kind to people. We see somebody that's in trouble, we're supposed to help them. We see somebody that needs something, we're supposed to help them. Now, you all heard about what happened in New Jersey, right? And I just got a warning about, there's a lot of GoFundMe pages all of a sudden popped up, supposedly collecting money for the victims and the families. and most of them are not true pages. So somebody's taking advantage. They're robbing people. They're misinforming people. They're not being kind. They're being the opposite. Unfortunately, there are people that are like that and will never, maybe they will, maybe God somehow will pull them around and get them where they need to go. But we need to separate ourselves from people like that. Now, you know, you guys are coming out of, I guess everybody here is coming out of Christianity. And there's no need, you don't have to separate yourself, so to speak, from those people. And this is the amazing thing about this new book that I just got, and I can't say anything about it. It's not published yet. But they essentially say, can a Noahide go in a church? Well, a Noahide shouldn't go to wherever idols are present. But if you're going in there because it's a family thing, somebody's getting married, somebody passed away, then there's no prohibition on it. There's no prohibition of going to a Christmas party, even for a Jewish person, if it's not about if it's not actual worship. The minute there's worship, you got to walk away. The minute there's worship, you got to leave. You can't stay. That is forbidden, the worship part. But you don't have to separate yourselves from your family. You don't have to. Now they might separate from you. It's a different story because of their way of thinking. But you don't have to. The way you act is raising up these people towards holiness. And they either get it or they don't get it. And you know, they might not get it today. They might get it 10 years from now, but they're going to get it. The whole world is getting it. The whole world is moving that direction. Go ahead, Terry.
Scotty and I were discussing this subject here this last week. And I kind of said, we boiled it down to, we've got to be involved without being involved. You know where I'm going.
Yeah. Go ahead. Keep talking. That's good.
So we've been talking about, Scotty, what was that you said? Something about living among them?
Yeah, we got to learn how to live among them and be the righteous of the nations. I added that last part. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Way to go, Scotty. No, that's excellent. That is good. We don't. The only reason that the Jewish people have been separated is because the world separated us out. We were always, if we started talking about the one God, and we started talking about not having idols, people started killing us. So we went away. And then when we would go someplace, they said, well, you guys could live over there by yourselves. You don't have to live among us. There was a fear there, or jealousy, or whatever it is. Who knows? I call it anti-Semitism. I don't care what you call it, but it's just something there. But you guys are coming out of the different religions now. Should not separate yourself. You should not separate yourself from them. They want to separate from you, that's their business. But you should be kind and nice and no debates. Don't ever debate anything with them. If they want to tell you all the usual things that they tell you, and we all know what they tell you, say, oh, or something like that. You know, just, okay. Don't say, okay, that's what you believe. Don't be belligerent. Just let them say what they want to say and get it off their chest, and then continue on. I don't even respond to stuff anymore. And within the Jews, us guys, I have what we call, I've returned to God. Shira and I had some people here today. We were talking about it, and the lady looked at Shira and said, "You mean you, because of you, this Jew became a Jew again?" and she's Jewish. And yes, that's what happened. A person who is not Jewish showed me that I have to be Jewish. That's my part in the world. That's what I have to do. I mean, heck, if I wasn't born Jewish, I know exactly what I'd be doing. I'd be sitting somewhere having some cold beer and a bushel of crabs or some barbecue ribs, because why not? Now, that brings up another thing. Can I eat it or can I not eat it? Of course you can. You don't have to if you don't want to. If you want to follow God's plan for what you eat and what you don't eat, it's okay. But if you don't follow it, it's okay. You have to understand it doesn't give you any points, so to speak, for doing more or not doing it, because they both carry the same weight. If it's something for you inside that makes you feel better, do it. If it's something you go to somebody's house and they got a baked ham on the table, it's okay. When I go to people's homes, when I'm out around the world, and people know that what I eat and don't eat, so very obvious. If they put it on the table, I don't get up and walk away. Go ahead, eat it if you want it. I can't eat it, but you can if you want. So it's in everything in moderation. It goes with eating, it goes with drinking, it goes with everything. Everything is allowed, also for Jews. Was it learn living and teaching others from how shluchim work? Yeah. Yeah, now the slaughter of a pig, the slaughter of an animal, there is an itchayvut, or you should make sure that animals you're going to eat that are killed for food are killed in a proper manner. They don't suffer, because we're supposed to be kind to animals. But you are, as you go out into the world and you're among people, you are shaliach. A shaliach means messenger for God. That's what it means. You go out there, you have a smile on your face, you just work with people. It's a wonderful thing. Not everything that we say has to be, oh, look what you're doing. We're not supposed to do that anyway. Think in your head right now the name of a person you really don't like, or you're really doing something bad. Now think of what good that person does. Where's the good in the person? It's there. We just don't see it sometimes. No matter what we think or judge a person, every single creation of God is good. And he told us that. I forgot to turn the video back on. Oh, there we go. He told us that. Everything he created is good. So that means the person that's nasty to you, the person that you don't like, the person that when they come into the room you want to leave, that person has good in them, and we're supposed to look for the good. The Jews themselves got away from looking for the good in each other Jews sometimes. The Baal Shem Tov is the one that brought it back into the light of day with Hasidus, which is just everything is good. Okay. I saw, okay. Did I miss something? No, okay. Okay. Terry says, you're talking to me. I had one of those days with a coworker. We always have to look for the good in everybody. Now, make sure I know we all have our passions. We all have the things we want to do. We want to do good for these people, and we want to help these people, and we want to get involved in this. But that is second. Always remember that. The first is you, fixing yourself. Now, I know we started a book, Gates of Trust, 2 weeks ago, but when exciting things come up, I can't just ignore the excitement. So I apologize in advance on that. But I get excited when I see things going forward. I get excited when I see things starting to work, it's starting to click. And I've been around oh, okay, very good. There's a need for those kind of books, actually. My wife was just talking to me about it yesterday. I will do that. Let's see. Hang on, let me just type something in here. Where are you on the thing here? Oh, there it is. Okay. I need to type in something here. I can't do two things at once. Only women can do that. Us guys, ain't no way we can multitask. Women are good at it. We can't do it. And that's also, there's a whole teaching on that, by the way, in the Talmud or the Gemara. Yeah, there you go. One track mind. So anyway, here's our plan, the Torah for the Nations. And we want to get people on board. I already talked to Scotty and Terry about it. But it's important to have community, right? And everybody says, where's the community? Where can I go have a cup of coffee with somebody? Where can I do that? And everybody else shuns me or this or that, the other thing. Well, we're working very hard on that. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to start trying to get people to set up meetings in their areas, invite people to them, and then if it's at all possible, I can't get to the meetings, of course, obviously, because I'm overseas, but I can have Terry or Scotty come to the meetings and talk to people and answer questions. And all that's needed is gas money, a place to sleep, and food. You know, so it doesn't have to come out of their pocket. But if you're interested in doing that in your area, let me know so we can start seeing what we can do to promote this. There was a time when I came to the States twice a year for a month and traveled from town to town like an itinerant preacher, I guess. And this is how people took care of me. You know, they give me a place to stay and some food and gas money. And I would teach Torah to people. We need people to show people there's human beings. You don't have to get on the internet. You don't have to, this is great. This room is great. And there's a friendship and there's a partnership here in this, but when you're sitting in the same room, it's different. When you're sitting in the same room, it's different. Real live people. So we want to do this. By the way, I will, if anybody wants in their neighborhood or with their families or anything, we can do a Zoom meeting with your families, with anybody on Skype or Zoom. That's what the No Hide Online Gatherings goal is. That's true, setting up the communities. But one of the offshoots of this, if it's not, the communities are great, but the teacher having the proper guidance to the community is even better. So you don't happen. Look, the No-Hide movement's been around a long, long, long time, since Noah stepped off the ark. The beginning of the No-Hide movement was the 27th of Cheshvan. That's when Noah put his feet outside the ark, stepped out of the ark. It should be a huge holiday for the Noahide people. 27th of Cheshvan, Mar Cheshvan, however you want to pronounce it. And we just passed it. And maybe we'll do some promotion for it next year, let people know about it. But it's a huge thing. That what you're doing, people talk about, let's go back to the way it was in the beginning. Let's do it like somebody named their website Genesis Walks, and one says the Abrahamic faith. You don't need all that stuff. You need to know that you are a son or daughter of Noah, as every single human being on this planet is. There isn't anybody out here that didn't come from Noah. And that the Shem started teaching the Noahide laws as soon as he got off the ark. He started teaching them right up the road from where I am, right here. There's a huge cave that's, as history puts it, is where Shem and Ever set up their yeshiva, their school, and started teaching people. They didn't evangelize like Abraham did, but they started teaching it to people. And Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it is said through Midrash, all studied there. They all went there to learn things. Shem was essentially the first high priest. This is your heritage. This is the heritage of every single human being. All they have to do is connect to it. Things, when Abraham came around, God took his offspring through Isaac and Jacob and the 12 tribes to teach them something so the world wouldn't forget where they came from. To bring forth this relationship that he wants with everybody, the whole world, not just us. We're just like hired teachers. And we're just like you. We just got a little more information because our people have been studying it for almost 3,500 years and studying it in depth. And some of the people really were able to put enlightenment to the Jewish people, but we couldn't do it to anybody else. We were stopped dead in the water, but of course this is God's plan. I mean, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't his plan. Now, I'm Chabad. In 1955, the Rebbe started talking about using the technology to reach everybody in the world. When TV first came out, he started talking about it. And in 1960s, after 67 war, he actually used a radio television hookup to be able to give a message at the wall. He couldn't come here, but he could do it at the wall in Jerusalem. And his premise was that technology is going to come around that allows the Jewish people to open up all of our information to the world. It'll be accessible to everybody. And you know what? All you got to do is Google it today. It says that the knowledge of God will cover the earth like the waters cover the sea. You've heard me say this before. What do you do on the internet? You surf the internet. So the internet are the waters that cover the earth, and all the information about God is right there. If somebody wants to know the origins of the Catholic Church or the Protestants or the Islam or voodoo, whatever they want, they can look it up and read it. The problem is it hurts people when they read the truth and always find a reason not to accept it. Many people like you guys allow it to come into you. You've allowed God to help you take the curtain away. You know, that we have what we call klipot on things in us. They are like a shell covering something good inside, but they're on the outside, they look bad. But what happens when you plant a seed It has that shell on the outside, that covering on the outside. You put it in dirt, you pour a lot of water on it, it's in a mud puddle. But what happens? The outside of the seed rots and the flower comes up. This is what's happening to some of the world religions today. This klipa, this blindness, this shell on the outside is rotting away. Well, we can't believe this anymore because it's crumbling up, it's going away. But what's left inside? The truth about God. It's blossoming all over the world. God wants your help. That's why you're here listening to me tonight. We call it divine providence, ashkaha pratit. There's a reason that we're doing this. And that's so that you can help. I mean, I don't know, somebody sitting there might say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But once you get your own stuff out of the way, once you've given your opinions and got your own stuff out of the way, then you can start thinking about, well, wait a minute, maybe there is a little grain of truth here. Maybe there is a little something there, and allow it to blossom. Look, I've seen things happen which were unbelievable. When I used to travel around and go to these messianic meetings, I was in a meeting when somebody's, I guess it's a pasture or something, down in Virginia. And a lot of people showed up. We went all day and all half the night. And I left there feeling really, I didn't accomplish anything. I didn't get my ideas across. I didn't do that. And 6 months ago, a family showed up here in Spot and said, by the way, we converted to being Jews because we heard you speak at such and such a so-and-so's home 4 years ago or 5 years ago. I said, you got to be kidding me. I didn't talk anything about, they said, no. When you talked about God, we heard the truth. And people are going to hear it from you too. Just, you can't be demeaning. You can't put other people down. You can't try to debate them. You simply have to radiate the truth of God, and it comes from inside of you. You are taking the klipa, or the shell, off of your godly part of you, the godly soul, or the part of the soul that's godly, and letting that light start to shine out of you, out of your eyes, out of your mouth. When you're in the same room with somebody, their soul is going to feel yours, the godly soul. They may not realize it, but it's going to happen. So we all of us have to get out of our own way. And it's the truth. I, for years, said, what am I going to do? What, these rabbis are going to tell me what time I got to get up in the morning and what all this rabbinical rulings and stuff. Nah, I'm me. I'm going to do it my way. And then I found out there's only one way to do it, and that's the Creator's way, because we're part of Him and we're created in His image. And it's okay to feel that connection to Him. I don't like to use the word spirituality because God is not a spiritual being. God just is. He's not physical either. He just is. But we use human terms to talk about him, like his strong right arm and and this other thing. And he allows us to do it. And we think if we're connected to God, it's just some mystical spiritual thing. It's not. It's the truth. It's reality. Terry likes to use my quote there. I can't remember the exact quote you used now. What do you say, Terry? What do I say?
God is not a religion. He's reality.
That's it. God is not a religion. He's a reality. Everything else we do is not reality. Being connected to God is the reality of everything, because that's what gives us eternal life. We never, ever die. The body might die. They talk about resurrection of the dead. What does it mean? It means the soul which never died is going to get a different body. It may look like, in other words, people, we don't know, but maybe they'll recognize it when I'll walk up and say, hey, George, how you doing on the other side? It may not be the same flesh. It may not be exactly the same. But see, a soul can't do anything by itself. That part of God that he puts in you cannot do anything by itself. It doesn't have hands and feet and arms and legs and eyes and ears. That's why it's put inside of the body. So that that soul, we can say, okay, we're going to hook up to God, and everything our animal part of us does is going to glorify God. So the soul says, when you pick up that glass to drink it, say a blessing. Not just grab it and gulp it down. Thank God for what he gave you. So that soul can't do anything if it's there with God. It has to have a vehicle to do things. There's no, why? Heck, God could have given us all an identity and left us there with him. We couldn't praise him. We couldn't worship him. We couldn't thank him. We couldn't do mitzvot. We couldn't do anything because there's nothing to do it with. So that's why we're put down. It's kind of funny. God takes the part of him that is me or you. He says, okay, you're going on a journey. And he sends you down into the lowest realm of creation that he created. And it says, okay, now come back to me. Can I tell you why he does that? I can't tell you why. I can't think like God thinks. But I've learned in my years on this earth that it's fun. We go through a lot of stuff. We go through illness. We go through losing partners. We go through losing family and friends. But then we realize it's all temporary. There's nothing permanent about it here. There's nothing permanent about this earth. Everything has a life and death cycle, except the part of you that belongs to him that he gave you. And no matter what you do, you can't not make it, you cannot destroy its purity. No matter what you think, you can't destroy its purity. So when you feel like, oh, I've done a terrible thing and I'm this and that and the other, and you're down on yourself and all that, understand the part of you that is connected to God, you haven't done anything to it. It's still pure. And all you have to do to line up with it is turn back to God, or turn to him in the first place, and say, you know, I'm really sorry. I really, truly am sorry. Well, why are you sorry, my son? And you tell him. You don't have to run around telling other people. You tell him, you acknowledge what you did wrong. And you say, I won't do it again. Now, there are times when you must, I guess the word is confess, to other people. When is it? You stole from somebody, they don't know it. Or they know something is stolen, they don't know who did it. You have to go to them and ask for forgiveness, or you hurt their feelings, or you made them angry because of something you said or did to them. You're obliged and obligated to go to that person and get it straight. But you know what? There's two sides to this. The person that was offended is obliged to forgive you. Yes, forgive you. He or she. They cannot hold a grudge against you. It's not the way God works, and someone that holds a grudge is not operating within God's image. Some people just will never forgive you, and there's nothing you can do about it. But you go to them and 3 times, is that the one you put up? You did? Yirmiel? Yerachmiel. Is that yours? Okay. All right. I'll take a look at it. You know why I got involved with No Hide Online Gathering? I saw that the people there that come there are not, they're not getting involved with a bunch of other stuff. In other words, they're trying to form a community. They know that that's what they're trying to do. And the guidelines on there talk about how they're not there to teach. They're there to be a community. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be a community with everybody. Come together, work together, join together. I know it sounds like a little bit of a kumbaya stuff, but it's what we're supposed to do. That's the whole reason we're here. God wants to be here with us. He wants us to prepare the earth for him. He wants to move in with us. He hasn't done it yet. The time will come when he will, and we will have the earth prepared for him. And then we would go on to the next level of life, and the next level and the next level. Now, I don't know if we have to go through this whole process of death or anything like that, the body dying or anything. There's certainly levels to life. And you can go up and up. And don't forget, life's infinite. God's infinite. That part of you and him is infinite. You're there forever, unless you choose not to be. That's what it. Remember, it says in Deuteronomy, I don't remember exactly where, it says, choose life or choose death. I prefer you that all should live. So there is a type of death for us if we don't choose to hook up with God. But there is no hell. It doesn't exist, which we all know. Anyway, let's open it up. Anybody have anything they want to say or talk about? Terry, you got something?
I just wanted to bring up something as you were talking a while ago. You know me now, how my mind just, you can say something and then whew, it goes. I don't know how to say this. I can see a comparison to certain things. You were talking about the body going and, the doing, the hands and the feet and all. We look at this Noahide laws. There's 5 of those laws: the prohibition of theft, murder, forbidden sexual relations, eating meat taken from a living animal, and the courts of justice. That's like the body. It's the doing part. And the prohibition of idolatry and blasphemy is the soul, like Hashem breathing into the body. And the 5 is what we go and do. And Hashem is the soul of that. And so I also look at it's interesting that the 5 commandments that's given to us is action, is pretty much action, what we're supposed to, not only not be doing, but what we're supposed to be doing. Because like I said, I see a positive aspect. If we don't steal, we're not supposed to steal, then we have obligation to give. We're not supposed to murder. We have obligation to give life when we have the opportunity. There's 5 books of the Torah. There's 5 action commandments that gives us ethics and morality to the nations. I'm just seeing all these comparisons as you talk tonight, and I just find it interesting that 5 of the laws is like a body, and the Torah itself is a body. The 5 books. I don't know. That's just where my mind's going tonight.
That's actually, it's a good observation. Good observation. The Torah is a handbook to do, and the first 2 are know who God is. God is very concerned that you know who He is and the truth of who He is. And so that's why it's one of the first things in the 10 commandments that He gave for all Jews and for the the 7 that he gave to all mankind. What's the first thing? Know me. Know who I am. He knows who you are. He wants you to know who he is without other people's opinions involved. He's told us who he is. He's a creator. He supplies us with all things. He creates all life, and he creates the needs that we have, and he creates that which fulfills all the needs that we have. That's who he is. So we should treat him in that manner. And that's a good observation, Terry. I like that. That's the 5 books, the doing. And even though the 5 commandments are negative, when you open them up, there's a whole lot of positive in there. It isn't just the 5, because not to murder has to do with a lot of things, not just physically murdering somebody, not just you can murder their reputations, the same as murdering the person. It affects them in that way. So we can, or you can, walk this road any way you want. But you have to know who God is, know that you represent him as you're walking around the earth, and so does everybody else. And that we have to work together. We have to do these things together and treat each other kindly. And we're going to go into detail under each one of the 5 negative commandments, or 4 negative commandments, in the courts of justice. You know, this is one of the things that has to be done, which will be done when the communities start forming. In the local communities, you're going to have sages or judges that will help you determine, are you doing it the right way or are you doing it the wrong way? So it's going to be a big task for the whole community. And it can't end up with having denominations. You can't be someone holding up their opinion over God's opinion. And how does a person, where's the basis we get everything from? From the Torah and the prophets. Not just the 5 books of Moses itself, but also from prophecy and the prophets. And the thing that the rest of the world has to understand is that our sages, the Jewish people have been studying it. They've written so many books about this stuff, there's no end to it. And that when they have discussions over the centuries of how to do things, that's exactly what they are. They're discussions, so we get to the truth. But when you have a specific question for yourself, you need to go to either, right now, if you have a relationship with the rabbi, you have to go to the rabbi, to the teacher, and get them to tell you what it is you have to do. And even if you think it might be wrong, you're supposed to do it until it's proven wrong. God doesn't count it against you if you ask a learned person and they tell you something wrong. But the point is, there has to be guidance. Not one of us can decide for ourselves. We have to be guided. That's why I'm excited about, and we'll talk more about it probably next week, about hooking up with the organization up in Jerusalem that's got the letters of approbation from the head rabbis, the chief rabbis of Israel, some of the chief rabbis of the cities here in Israel, of the government itself, because then you know when you're following that, you're following the. Now I'm not talking about the secular government I'm talking about the religious understanding. I guess that's the only way I can put it, religious. I hate using that word because we're not a religion, but we religiously do what God wants us to do. In other words, we faithfully perform. Faith, by the way, I say this quite a bit, but faith, according to Jewish terminology, is faithfully doing. It's an action word. You faithfully do what God wants you to do. It's not accepting something on faith because somebody wrote it down in a book and somebody said this happened, and that stuff. You just don't accept something because it was said, and somebody said you have to believe. We have a word for that in Hebrew. One of the first words I learned when I got here. It's a slang word. I have no idea what the etymology is. I tried to find out. The word is friar. When somebody comes to somebody here in Israel and says, "Oh, I heard that," and the guy looks him right in the eye and says, "What are you, a friar?" Somebody that just believes whatever is said, just accepts it on faith. Oh yeah, he said it, so it must be true. And I have no idea. Maybe Rachmiel knows where that word came from. I don't know where the word came from, but it was just you hear it a lot when you're living here in Israel. Okay, anybody have any questions? Anything they want to talk about? Anything they want to bring up? Blaine, it's always good to see you. Always good to see you. See you next week. I meant to ask Blaine. I think we've known each other for quite a few years. I forgot to ask him that. I was going to ask him that. Okay, anybody want to turn their mic on and say something here?
Yes, Pesach, I was just wondering, I was a few minutes late. The book you were speaking about, and in relation to your last few comments, I missed that connection.
Oh, Richard on his iPhone. Okay, Chrissy, the book I'm talking about, everybody knows about the book, The Divine Code.
Yeah.
It's a great reference book anyway. It's just, I tried to read through it. I couldn't sit down and read through it. If I have to look something up, I can look it up in there. But this organization is bringing out a book. Now, I don't know exactly what they're going to call it yet, but it simply explains how you're supposed to do everything. It's showing you a way of thinking so that any question you have, you know exactly what it is. The basic thing that they're teaching is that the righteous of the world, the righteous of the nations, you want to eat kosher, eat kosher. You don't want to, don't eat. It doesn't gain you anything except a personal feeling inside, maybe, if you do it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you points like with God. Oh, I'm better than you are or something.
Okay.
And the book is not published yet, so I can't give you the name of it or anything. It's like there's this little privacy thing. We can't talk about it yet.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And I have one other question, Pesach. I'm just had a couple of inquiries about a way, when you said you could do some Zoom meetings, I just pricked my ears up. I've got one grandson who's 12, and then I've got two other grandchildren, 19 and 21. And I'm just thinking there's a bit of a gap between, say, age 12 and 21, so to speak, for the young people to engage and talk about things about how, they're coming into the Noahide way of life. And sometimes I think it's good for children or young people to engage with each other. I'm just wondering how everyone else feels about that. Is there any type of thing in existence at the moment, or is that a possibility we could think about? Obviously, you'd have to have a learned moderator. I'm thinking someone of your caliber, Pesach or Terry, someone like that is able to sort of moderate it. But I'm just wondering what everyone's feelings are or knowledge is about this.
I know what I do. When I'm with my grandkids, they know who I am already. So when I talk about God and I ask them questions, but that's just me. I'm with my grandkids and explain to them what I got to know, who the one God is. And they're like, right now they know this. And so when I ask a question to them, it's like, Hashem, one God, and they just know it. And I just have to go from there, but I don't really know anything out there for, like, their ages are 10 to 15. And so I'm like, okay, I don't really know what else to give them other than what I know. And, and 18.
Yeah, well, my grandkids know about Hashem, but sometimes they don't always want to talk to older people. Sometimes young people need to share things, don't they,
Yes.
amongst each other. But it's a bit of a dilemma, I guess, for them. Yeah, my youngest is 12, a youngest grandchild, and he's got quite a profound understanding in a very simple, no fuss, no frills manner, very centered. But not all children are sometimes, and there might be other 12-year-olds out there that could benefit from talking to someone their age. I don't know. These are just the ramblings of a grandmother at the moment.
That's okay. You know what? They will never forget what you said because you're a grandma. You are the grandma, and they look highly upon you. Even sometimes you think they don't, but they do. They look at you as, this is grandma. Like, I hear it from mine. So
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Now, let me just say that how we educate the Jewish children is a little bit differently than that. They go to class and they just learn. They just learn. They're not allowed to have opinions at that age because they're not even responsible for their actions. Some sages say that you're not responsible for your actions till you're like 17, 18 years old. At 13, you're bar mitzvah and you become a member of the congregation. But at the age 13 is when the hormones start kicking in. And it's one of the toughest times that anybody goes through in their life. Bodily changes, voice changes, hormone changes. And what happens is you get that little thing, well, I'm a man or I'm a woman and I can think what I want now. And so when you put a group of them together, you get friction. The best way to do it is the way you're doing it, Chrissy, and that's the influencing your kids, your grandkids, and as they get older, and of course here in Israel, it's after Army, and they're 21 years old, and that's when they, and by then they're out looking, they want to look for all the spirituality and stuff, but everything happens, and I don't know if you saw Shira's teaching the other day about around the dinner table, and have that meal once a week where they have to be at, and and no phones, no music, no television, everything in the house is shut down electronically, and you have a meal, and it's not carry out, not let's order out. But the woman of the house should prepare a nice meal for everybody, and they sit down and they discuss and talk things. And there should be no arguments or whatever. Growing up, my father and I couldn't, once I hit my teenage years, we couldn't sit at the same table together. Friday nights, we made an exception. But in the other nights, it was just like, man, it was just, I guess I was too much like him or something. I don't know. I'm now sorry personally for those years, but the homeschooling also, that takes such a big curriculum that people have to do. I know it's good to take them out of the public school system, but there's so many restrictions. There's so many things on it nowadays. I don't know how good it is in any country. The homeschooling. It used to be something good, but I don't know what it is now. Terry, you want to say something?
Yerkmiel has his hand up.
Oh, I
Go
didn't
ahead,
see that.
Yerkmiel.
How do I?
We can hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
The online school would be the way to go. You're not homeschooling, but it would be taught by someone who's knowledgeable of the Sheva Mitzvahs and also of the curriculum a child has to follow. And if it could be done right, you could have an hour or two of Noahide training prior to, at the start of the day, right? Start the kids off with religious instructions. That's when their head is waking up, right? The same thing as moment of silence. You want to start them off at the beginning of the day with their head in the right place. Then all of their lessons can be done. Think about science. There's so much science that if we did it properly, right, we could teach math, science, everything in a way that we're teaching the mitzvahs, and in a way that we're not introducing all kinds of horrible moral or immoral, like they get in the public school. The trick would be if we train, from as early as we can, the kids can do the equivalent of Messiah. I mean, I know children go out from when they're very, very young and do Messiah. My son was out with Gulav and Esrig as a small boy, also with Tefillin. So it definitely is doable as long as they have the right education and they have the support behind them. They just can't do it cold. They need the support to so they'd have somebody to turn to and somebody to help. Problem with giving the kids a room of their own, so to speak, a chat room or whatever, one child can wreck it for everybody else. Doing support work, doing work with children, it's very, very tough. You have to have somebody there just to make sure everybody stays on track. As long as you can set it up correctly, it can be a wonderful.
Thank you, Yerachmiel. Yeah, for Veronica, put in there this, excuse me, Raising Noah, which is a Facebook group now. You might want to check out because it's pretty good. It's run by some people doing pretty good things.
Yeah, my grandson is 6 years old, and he already knows what the little boys and girls in Jerusalem know. Where is Hashem? Up, down, left, right, and all around. There is Hashem. So I tell him, you're never alone. God is always with you. So he's, yes, Grandpa. So hopefully it sticks a little bit.
Very good. Let me just ask a question. Did Angelica or George, did you guys want to have a question or something before we got off on this subject? Did you have something you wanted to say? I guess not. Okay. Terry, what else?
Nothing really.
Okay. Anybody have any?
I do have a question I want to throw out at you,
Okay, go ahead.
if I can word it right. I don't know. I've gone back and I've started looking at the story with Abraham and Sodom again, and Jonah and Nineveh. And when you really look into it, the basis like when we're going to be going out there, is really teaching ethics and the morality of the 7 laws. What it appears to me, maybe I'm kind of starting a blog on it, not sure exactly how I'm going, but when you look at the Noahide, at least in America, movement that's going on, predominantly coming out of Christianity, evangelical Christianity, it appears that the reason why they were Christians was because of what they believed, and everything came under that. And that almost seems like the same way with many Noahides, where they discuss so much about belief, and you don't see a lot of the doing part, what we were talking about the laws. Ibn Ezra wrote on the commentary on Genesis 18:26. He talks about the righteous who are God-fear. The righteous must be one who fears God not only in safety and privacy of their own home, but in the midst of the city, playing a prominent role in public life, exerting their influence as much as they can in fields of activity. It says if the moral climate of the city is such that it forces the righteous into seclusion, then the city is not worthy of being saved by the virtue of a handful of men who lead a secluded life within it. And he goes on, talks about, Hirsch goes on, talks about, says, there too, righteous people, talking about Jerusalem. It stresses about the deficiency of Sodom and those of Jerusalem prior to their destruction of the first temple. It says, there too, the righteous people failed to fulfill their responsibility to influence their brethren, just as in Sodom as well, a person more righteous than his fellow could not obtain salvation by withdrawing into his own private existence. But it seems like and you go back to Nineveh, and the sages teach that not even one temple was destroyed. It seems like the Noahide movement is more if you really look at it, is more like again, it's forming itself into a faith-based type thing instead of what we're giving to do. Am I seeing this right when I look at everything as a whole? That we need to be involved in our communities about when we can get involved about theft and murder and the sexual relations and the treatment of animals and environment, and then bring the people to understanding the faith aspect of it. What's your thoughts on that? If I put myself clear enough.
Yeah, I got exactly. Look, one of the things that we teach people, kids especially, we start off with kids, that the kindness, which is called tzedakah. It doesn't mean just charity, it means just being kind. But a lot of it is physical acts, but of helping other people in one way or another. But the way that the way that God wants us to do it is He gives us everything. Everything we have in our hands, even the guy that's out on the street begging money, God puts the money in his hand, but he has an obligation to do it for somebody else, no matter how little it is. This is the very first act of kindness that has to be done. When we go to pray every morning, I get up in the morning and I do the morning blessings that are in the Jewish prayer book. And before I start to pray, I give tzedakah, I give charity. We have a little box, we just put some money in. When I go to shul and I'm doing morning prayer, I do the same thing. If there's someone that comes into the shul asking they need help, You give them the help even in the middle of your prayer. You reach in your pocket, you give them something. The act is, God gave you that, he put it in your pocket, he gave you this job to make money, go, it's not your money. God gave it to you, it's a gift. Yeah, I sweated like crazy to earn this money this week. But still, God gave you the money because he gave you the job too. So you go out and you give the money. You give the money. Now, there is no tithing system right now. But the requirement is, whether there's a tithing system or not, that 10% of your income, you're supposed to pass on to others. And I don't know, some people like to give to charity because they get tax deductions. That's not the reason you do it. Oh, I'm going to get some tax deduction. Most Jewish people, I don't care how poor they are or how rich they are, actually push it to 20%. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to give somebody money to pay their electric bill when you got to pay yours. You don't hurt your family, you don't hurt yourself, you take care of your family first, but there's always something you have to pass on. This gets us a framework of thinking of helping others and being kind to others and thinking properly about others. It's not the point of, I want your money. It's the point of, it gets you in a certain way of thinking. And by the way, since this came up, and I know I'm really bad at this, but I really appreciate those that are sending along some money to help us pay for our expenses for the computers and for the stuff we do. And we really appreciate that. I don't think I thank people enough for that. But when we read and I thank you very much for the blessing. Anyway, the Torah, the tithe went to the Levites. The Levites collected it, and then they had to tithe to the Kohanim. It went to a different, 10% of what was collected went to the Kohanim. Then out of the money that came in, it went out to the poor. It's a physical act of doing something in a very physical way. You reach your hand in your pocket and you pull it out, and you're being kind to somebody by sending it along. Does that mean, giving to some big national charity? Usually we don't operate on that way. We have foundations that help people. People can come and ask for money. They can get no interest loans to pay bills. There's all kinds of things that we do for people that we have to fund them. So where do we fund them? We reach in our pocket and we're kind. Here, use this money to help this family buy food this week. Use for this, use for that. It's a simple matter of, I'm being kind by passing on what God has given me to someone for a reason. Now, I brought up earlier, and I don't know if everybody's in the room when I brought it up, but this terrible shooting yesterday in New Jersey, or maybe it was the day before yesterday. And all of a sudden there's 100 GoFundMe pages saying they're representing the families and bringing up money for the families, and they're false, they're fraud. You guys probably get phone calls at home raising money for this and that and the other thing. A lot of this stuff is fraudulent. They did it for the VA. They did it for the Veterans Association. They've done all this fraudulent stuff. The best way to do it is on an individual basis. You know somebody's in need, you help them. You're kind to them. It starts changing something in your head. I mean, I remember when I was younger, much younger, and I was working two full-time jobs to pay bills and raise a family, and somebody would ask me for money. So well, just get a job, go to work. That was my attitude towards them. And I realized I was wrong in doing that all those years. And you know people right now sitting around a dinner table that say stuff like that. You know, there's no reason somebody has to be on, get help or something. They can just go get a job. There's enough jobs out there, especially in the job market in America today. But there's some people that need help. Go ahead, Angela. Oh, okay. Bye-bye. See you next week. I will say very quickly that if watch for announcements, you ought to follow, be a part of B'nai Noach Connection with Israel, and follow me personally. I'm working on the idea of starting. I used to do a 2-hour broadcast every day, a radio broadcast. I think it was like 10 o'clock at night, 10 or 11 at night Eastern time. But I'm thinking of putting together some type of program that I may go do it maybe a half hour, maybe an hour every day to cover certain topics and answer questions that people have. By the way, if you have questions, send them along to us. We can also help if you know anybody that needs counseling, that needs help through a difficult time when they're separating from and they feel alone and they need help. Send them along to us. We'll help counsel them. We don't charge people for any of the stuff we do. We do have people that help us out financially, and so that we don't have to charge money for what we do. So anyway, what we want to do where you live, wherever you live, I don't care where you live, if you want to get a meeting together, we can do it through Skype or Zoom or Facebook. You can get 10, 15, 20 people in a room and put me up on the TV screen. And we can talk, and we can, if you just want to have a little group with your family, so they have questions that you can't answer, I'll come and talk to your family. Any way you want to do it. Right now, I can't be making trips to America because it's pretty expensive. But we want to, I don't want to call it evangelizing. For a while, I started calling it, let's go evangelize people. What is to evangelize? To change their way of thinking. But it's been so beat up and used, that word, that I don't want to do that anymore. Use the word. But anybody, yeah, go ahead, Terry.
I came up with an idea this last week, kind of a Noahide encourager, an encouragement toward the 7 laws.
Yeah,
Not evangelizing, but encouraging.
Encourage it. That's a good way to put it. Evangelizing has got kind of a bad name to it now. So look, you got Noahide online community, and that's a great online gathering where people get together and people get to know each other. But as Shara said, it's not a teaching device. And there's a lot of stuff out there being taught, and not all of it is a straight path. So you have to learn where you have to be looking all the time. And you know what? It's almost like putting blinders on, so that when someone comes at you from over here, and they're trying to change in all these different movements within the Noahide movement itself, you don't want to get involved with that stuff. You really don't. It doesn't come down to the sages and the rabbis and everybody else. It's not worth messing with. Did you want to say something, Richard?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate for a Noahide to learn Genesis, because everything that affects them happens in Genesis.
You're exactly right. To learn Genesis, but that's where your roots are. But there are things that are in the prophecies that people never look at. The couple that came to visit us today, they wrote a book, and she wrote it a few years ago, And on the cover has Zechariah 8:23, I think it is, that the 10 men from the nations shall come and grab the tzitzit of the. I said, why didn't you use Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah 16:19? She said, what's that? So she knew a little bit of prophecy, but that one says the day will come when people from all nations are going to come to Jerusalem and say, our forefathers have given us nothing but lies, and the truth is with you. Teach us the truth. It's a prophecy that God spoke out through Jeremiah. So it's always good to learn the other stuff too. But Genesis in detail, yes, it's a very good, everything that we need to know right up through the rainbow, the covenant that God made with all living creatures. It includes the 7 Noahide laws for us human beings. If you want to be a human being, you have to walk the 7 Noahide laws. There is reference to that in the sages and in the prophecies, that if you don't do the 7 Noahide laws, you're not really a human being. You're not what God created you to be. You're doing something else.
There's a rabbi in the United States in Louisiana who taught me Genesis. His name is Rabbi Z. Avenir, and he took it in depth. And I learned so much. His wonderful teachings.
No, that's good. That's good, because you don't get it until you talk to a rabbi, because of what they don't even teach the stuff. Maybe they do some of it. So, anybody, who is Urak, by the way? Okay. I think unless anybody's got anything else to say, we're kind of done for today. I'm excited. Use your Noahide, the 7 universal laws, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. Remember, in the Rebbe used to say it this way: there's an eye that sees and an ear that hears, and you're never hidden from it. That means every single thing you do and everything you say, God's watching. So you either want to work for him or you don't want to work for him. It's your choice. He gave us that choice. I love these meetings. I'm glad we had so many people come this week. We'll see you next Wednesday, same time, same place. And if you want to, feel free to download or to do what you want with the meetings once they get up there. If you want to take pieces and show them to people or whatever. And again, if you want to put together a home group, a one-time thing, or once a month, whatever you want to do, willing to talk to people, answer questions for people. And if I can't do it, Terry can do it. Terry can't do it. Scotty can do it. We're putting a team together here, and we're trying to get people, for getting people together without some one person taking control. God's in control here. And people,
Rabbi,
yeah.
We have a group called Noahide Online Gatherings, and it's made as a social thing because a lot of people come from Christianity and are missing the fellowship.
Right.
So we're doing it state by state now, and I'm meeting approximately 10 Noahides on the 15th in LA. So I'll guide them this way.
Yeah, that's great. And look, if you're having a meeting, I don't care if you're in a coffee house or having breakfast, if somebody puts a laptop up on the table, I can be right there with you guys if somebody has questions or something.
I would love that. I would love that. We're going to be meeting at 11 o'clock or no, I take it back 10 o'clock, and the I forget the other name, in LA. So I'll have my laptop with me.
What day?
The 15th, and
What, yeah.
that's Pacific time.
Is it but is it Saturday or
Sunday?
Oh, it's a Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning, your time. So we're 10 hours different. So does it 8 o'clock in the evening my time?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I have no problem. You guys want to get me involved, just let me know.
That'd be great. I'd love to have you.
Yeah, just in case anybody has any questions. I don't have to be there the whole time. Somebody has questions, we can hook up for a while and talk. And it would really be good. If people can ask me questions and we can exchange ideas.
Sounds good. Also, the main group is going to go to Texas this year in the fall. Maybe we can do the same thing with that group.
Yeah, well, I stop by the Noahide Online Gathering every week just to see what's going on. This week I was there. I didn't talk much because there was no need. Nobody had. It was just a community chat that was going on.
Yeah, that's a chat room, but there's also a thing on Facebook. But they're in the planning stages right now. But in the fall, we'll be meeting in Texas from all over.
Yeah.
So Scotty be there, I'll be there, Terry will probably be there, Shira and Charles and a bunch of other people. So maybe we can set something up.
I'm open for anything. That's all of us working together, get the job done that God wants done, so that people will know who He is. That's the most important thing that we can possibly do, because that's the number one thing He asks from us, whether for every human being to know who He is. Simple.
Okay, so let's plan about 10:30 or 11. Let's say 10:30 on Sunday. I get you on the laptop on this site.
That's good. What I'll do, we can either do it through Facebook or I'll send you a Zoom link if you want, and you can just connect in and to the Zoom room, and we'll do it that way. Any way you want. Just keep me posted.
Okay. There you go.
That's in 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, you're on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Are we friends? I don't know. On Facebook?
I don't know. If you're not, I'll add you.
Add me, and then we can just, we can hook up right through Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
All right, do that. I'll be looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Yeah, okay, that's good. Oh, Yerachmiel. Okay. Okay, there we go. Now I know who it is. When the phone's off. Okay. Anybody have anything else they want to bring up, talk about, ask a question? Go ahead, Troy.
I do got one, but I kind of need to ask you after the recording, if possible. I know, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's possible. That's no problem. So let's turn it. We can say good night to everybody and turn the recording off.